Hi, my name is Corey Gerard. When I think back at my earlier years of development, I can remember growing up as a kid and then going outside and playing and even playing with a few of my friends. And then it was like that with me and my brother because we are a year apart. And then, everything would be tranquil during playtime. We'd, play as children play. And then we grew up like that. But later on, we would come to know that sometimes things would become problematic and harmonious in a neighborhood. Like you would hear about somebody fighting involving two people. Then you would hear about a bunch of people fighting involving many more people or persons in question. And as a kid, you tend to be curious about those situations, which would be on the negative, as well as curious about things that are positive. Now, things such as fighting, like people always want to run out and see that fight, even though it has nothing to do with them and they are not a part of it. So, whenever we would hear about a fight, somebody's fighting down the street, everybody would run down there and try to see. But, as my mother would always say, like, look, if you look for trouble, trouble is going to find you. Or if you go to trouble, then you're going to be a part of that very trouble. And then if you seek that kind of trouble out all the time, then eventually it's going to come back on you. So mom was pretty much like, look, y'all should avoid trouble, stay away from trouble, don't go near trouble. And especially if it doesn't involve y'all in the first place. So when that stuck in my mind, and it's pretty much edged in there as a long-standing memory. So whenever I would hear about a fight or a bunch of people fighting, I wouldn't show no interest in it or go anywhere near it unless it was happening right across the street from my home. Because I would just remember what mom had said, like, hey, if you go to trouble, then that very trouble will find you. So which brings us to another interesting discussion as a topic. Like, I'm hearing a lot about this 17-year-old kid that went into Wisconsin from the state of Illinois with an assault rifle. And he wound up killing two people and injuring another. And I hear that this guy's story is that he heard about the rioting and looting that was going on in Wisconsin. So he took it upon himself to go help because he said he wanted to help the people and preserve order or whatever remaining order that was left. And he tried to go in there and he said, hey, he just wanted to help, like put a dampening on the civil disturbance. But technically, he went to that very trouble instead of staying away from it. You understand where I'm coming from? Like, this guy was at home. If he was at home where it was safe, where it was secure, he should have only cared about protecting his family. Like, yeah, you got plenty of armaments there, and then there's no uproar in Illinois. So why would he just take it upon himself to go to a riot zone where there are all types of looting going on and destructive behavior if he was not a part of that? So that was a case where that guy's parents did not condition him to stay away from trouble like my parent conditioned me to stay away from trouble. Because he got a rifle. The first chance he got a rifle, ammunition, probably extra clips, and went in there instead of just saying, hey, look, I want to help the people. Hey, he could have said, hey, I'm going to be neutral as possible. I'm going to go in there to help the injured. So I'm going to get a priest clergyman suit with a big cross on it. I'm going to go buy medical supplies and I'm gonna go in there like that, so I would appear to be non-threatening. But rather, he did the exact opposite. So he went in there, and some things jumped off, and he became a focal point, and that's because he was walking around with a big assault rifle. And he's a white guy, a white young man. So people might be thinking, well, he's a part of the militia groups. He's an extremist. He's coming in here to kill us. So hey, we got to get this guy, attack him. They thinking like that because you are appearing to be threatening if you walk around with a big assault rifle. Rather than walking around like dressed up like a priest or a pastor carrying medical supplies. So I watched some video footage, and it seemed like he shot somebody. It appears as though he shot somebody, and then he was attacked by a couple of more people, and then he shot one of them. I don't know about the third shooting, but I watched the video footage on something, but it was hazy. But what is the moral to that story? Like the moral is, hey, stay at home, stay away from trouble, protect your family, protect your own property, possessions, and people that are closest to you, and do not travel off afar to get involved into a troublesome situation that has nothing to do with you. Now, yeah, you can go and help people like all you want. Yeah, if you trying to go into a troublesome situation to put the fire out, or you're trying to help people, help the injured, and you're acting like a peacemaker or a medic, yes, by all means, go to that trouble and try to do what you can to stop it and remove it from the equation entirely. But don't ever claim to be a peacemaker and then go into a problematic or trouble zone like fully armed to the T with an assault rifle and then claim to be there to help people, because it will not come off like that or appear to be that way, but rather you are going to appear to be threatening and dangerous, because then people are posting this picture up with him carrying like that rifle around. Like that's the only picture that's floating around, or pictures. They're not posting pictures of him in Wisconsin while holding medical supplies and helping the injured. So people are going to tend to focus on the negative or the positive. And no one completely knows what this 17-year-old's agenda was, but he said he was going in there to help people, or to restore order to that particular segment of the state. And hey, were you deputized by law enforcement to do this, that? Were you empowered by the police department to go in there and do that? And that's something they would not do, and because it would be like throwing gasoline onto the flames. So even they would have been like, look, hey, if you want to help people, hey, get some medical supplies, get some water and go in there, and like help the injured, and then take one of them little safety medical kits to patch up the wounded or something. They would not say, hey, yeah, get armed to the T and then go straight for this situation, which is bad and has nothing to do with you or your particular livelihood. Because if they did, then they would be telling them to look for trouble and go straight for the trouble. And then you saw what happened. This guy was in Illinois, and then all this stuff jumped off in Wisconsin. And what did he do? He gets armed to the T and goes there instead of staying home where it was safe. And then he became a part of that trouble because that trouble found him, and it found him because he went straight to it rather than staying away from it. I can't give an accounting of whether he was a good kid or not, or whether or not he had good intentions or bad intentions. But when they post a picture of you carrying a rifle around, and then you in fact had shot 3 people, then what what are people supposed to think there? Like if I see me walking around waving a gun and people had me on camera and then they said I shot a few people, then hey, would anyone give me the benefit of the doubt? Regardless of the fact if I said, hey, I'm going in there to help, put a dampening or douse the situation, which is bad. Yeah, so that's a case where, people should apply that or that particular teaching in which I was taught by my mother when she said, look, hey, if anything troublesome happens in your community or afar, then don't go to it. Don't go nowhere near it, because that very troublesome will find you if you're looking for it. It's like you reap what you sow. Like if you go looking for trouble, then that trouble is going to find you. And then, if he got a rifle, he went in there expecting to be met with some kind of resistance. So with that being the case, it was best for him to stay home in the first place and not leave. And I'm like, why didn't his parents have more control over this situation? Why didn't they condition him properly? They should have conditioned him to be like, hey, your family, your friends, your possessions, and your property are first and foremost. So you should protect those and us, which you hold closest and dear, and forget about what's happening way over here. Hey, because if you're not a part of the solution, then you are clearly a part of the problem. So that's the case where it goes to the most unfortunate situations in which we must face in society, but we do not have to be a part of those bad case scenarios if a choice presents itself to us. So it's best to just stay away from it entirely. Thanks for tuning in to this message.